If you're someone who pushes forward against all odds when things get hard, this video is specifically for you. You might be of the warrior skin, what we call your embodied somatic patterning. So if you are the warrior skin, pressure doesn't confuse you, it clarifies you. When others hesitate, you move. When others look for consensus, you decide. When others fold, you buckle down and hold the line. And it's probably worked. You're celebrated for it and proud of it. You don't just survive pressure, you outperform inside it. But there's a difference between being good at pressure and being free inside of it. And most warriors never get taught that distinction. Before we go further, we need a shared orientation. Pressure does not land the same way in every body. Under pressure, the human nervous system organizes itself in one of four primary ways. Some resist pressure and push, that's the warrior. Some yield and adapt, that's the shapeshifter. Some narrow and orient, that's the sage. And some open and sense, that's the asset. These are not personalities. They are nervous system response strategies, how the body metabolizes intensity. If you don't know your primary skin yet, pause the video, go down into the description. There's a somatic skins quiz linked below. Take it now, and especially if you're a warrior, then come back and everything I'm going to share next will make a lot more sense. When warriors are unconscious to their skin or they fail to cultivate range, the cost doesn't usually show up as failure. Things still work. You get results. You're respected. You're relied on. But over time, something subtler happens. Burnout, maybe relational fallout or quiet resentment. Callousness, cynicism. And all of that doesn't really arrive for a warrior as collapse. It arrives as compression. Your plateaus don't look like failure. They look like diminishing returns. And honestly, just tired to the deepest part of you of the fight. But you've been trained to perform and keep performing. There isn't always a stop for you because pressure in life, other people's expectations are always coming. In performance terms, we might call this overtraining or overperforming. And for you, it won't feel reckless. It'll feel responsible, needed. You're like a gas pedal stuck on, and everyone is counting on you. It won't feel like there's an off. And so advice to take it easy or go on vacation, things that help other people actually make you feel worse because it's aimed at a nervous system that isn't yours. Your system is excellent at pushing, forcing, holding, and staying. And so quitting, changing, adapting, or feeling more will feel like failure. The warrior's nervous system is built for decisive motion. That's its native genius. High tension, narrow focus, clear direction. Pressure doesn't confuse a warrior, it sharpens them. And that's why they tend to become leaders, first responders, founders, protectors, operators, and athletes. Their presence stabilizes chaos. Their structure gives others something to lean on. That isn't a story, it's a physiology, and it's powerful. But power without range and conscious choice has a cost. So I'm going to use our framework of react, respond, create to demonstrate this range in the warrior skin. Okay, react. This is strength as reflex. At first, the warrior's relationship to pressure is reaction. Something happens and they move. There's no delay. There's no negotiation. There's no dithering. They've handled it. This is where grit is born and reaction builds strength, safety, or it earns trust from themselves and others. And for probably most of their life, that's enough. until it isn't, because reaction is automatic. And so when strength becomes your only reflex instead of a choice, the system is taught to never stand down. And that takes its toll on you and the relational dynamics around you. There is no room but for go mode. All right, and then we have respond. This is controlled force and actually where most somatic or coaching training stops. In response, eventually, given intentional development or the school of hard knocks, the warrior learns to respond. They learn to regulate, they pause, they don't explode into action. And as I said, this is where most leadership training, somatic work, and professional development ends. But for warriors, it often creates a trap because responding doesn't always mean that they know how to release tension. Often it just means managing it better, becoming a little more civilized on the outside. Your armor gets cleaner, your control gets quieter and more repressed, and the discipline gets more refined. But your body is still organizing around holding, and that tension will build internally. Everyone around that particular leader is happier and functioning, but that leader feels like they're carrying so much pent-up pressure with nowhere for it to go. Life looks like it stabilizes, but it's actually maintaining a trigger point. And that person has stopped evolving and just continued to hold and grit. This is the plateau that most warriors won't recognize until everything spirals out. And they're not free within this response-only system. They're functional. And functional is not the same thing as creative. So before I get into create, our third step in this methodology, I want to name some actual costs of staying in reactive or response as a warrior. When tension is your default, outcomes will depend on you. So one of the costs is with your leverage. You become indispensable instead of scalable. And the system works because everything has to pass through you and you're braced inside of it. That's not leadership. That's a load-bearing identity. Everything will depend on you, even when it shouldn't. And when you won't or simply can't carry it anymore, it all falls apart and your body knows this. So you just keep going. Second cost is intimacy without losing authority. When tension becomes identity, presence will feel like vigilance. Listening feels like efficiency and connection feels muted or controlled. Softness feels risky. So whether in your professional domain or even leaking into personal relationships, people will respect you, they'll rely on you, but you won't always feel met. That's because your attention is limiting sensitivity and contact. You're respected, but often feel alone. The third cost is creativity under pressure. Warriors are decisive, but decisiveness isn't the same as creation. Without range, you solve with known moves. You repeat strategies that once worked. You win with the same game again and again, even when the terrain has changed. The cost to this is diminishing returns without an obvious failure up front. You'll still think that you're succeeding because you aren't able to drop the tension enough to allow subtle sensitivity to reach you, that the game you're playing has changed altogether. The fourth cost is in energy efficiency. Tension burns fuel physiologically. When the system never fully releases, your recovery shortens, joy flattens, and rest feels undeserved. You'll spend more energy than necessary for the same outcomes, and that's not strength, that's sustained strain. The fifth cost is in choice, and this is probably the deepest cost. When you over-identify with strength, you rarely ask, is this the right move? You ask, how hard do I need to keep pushing? Life becomes something that you manage and control, not something that you shape. And that brings me to our third step in the development of a warrior skin: create. To create is a warrior's actual evolution of range. And this is not creating into softness or passivity, but it is developing precision. Creation is when tension becomes a tool, not a default. You can access it, harness it, and release it at will. This is when power enters your system by choice, not reflexive obligation. When leadership shapes the field instead of bracing against it. At this level, you choose when to hold. You choose when to push. You choose when to release. And you choose when to stand down or shift without losing command. Strength that can breathe is stronger than strength that only holds. The evolved warrior doesn't dominate the field, they stabilize it, and that is command without strain. All right, hope that gave a helpful overview of the warrior skin. The Prestige is our avant-garde somatic academy where we train somatic capacity for all embodiment types. Our work is not to make warriors softer, it's not to strip their edge, but it is to train range, to practice staying powerful without being tense, releasing without collapsing, leading without bracing on your system. Most environments train reaction. Some train response. We train creation under real relational leadership and existential pressure. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you enjoyed something in this video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. I'll see you next time. We work with leaders, practitioners, coaches, executives, and entrepreneurs who want mastery